You're listening to the Beer Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast. Tune in every Wednesday night at 6:30 Pacific for a dose of beer and brewing banter with your hosts, Ben Holm and Andrew Ziegler.
So hop aboard for some wit and wisdom in the Pacific Northwest, because it's always beer 30 on
The Beer Craft.
Today on the Beer Craft Podcast, we're going full Viking. We're talking flame-hot fermentations, ancient yeast cultures, and a beer that practically ferments right before your eyes.
And it doesn't explode, usually.
Right. We're diving into the wild world of Kveik Yeast, Norwegian farmhouse yeast that breaks all of the rules and still makes amazing beer. Fast, fruity, ferments at 100 degrees if you let it.
Oh my God. It's like the yeast equivalent to the motorcycle with no brakes. But in a good way.
So we're joined by a team behind the newly launched Kveik Yeastery, a group of yeast scientists, brewers, and literal farmers keeping this tradition alive and in your fermenter.
Oh yeah, and our guests include the COO of Enzyferm, the brewer of Ølsmia in Oslo, and a farmhouse brewer from Voss who found a Kveik strain on his family's land.
This episode is for brewers who like fast fermentations, huge flavor, and a touch of chaos. So stick around. But before we dive into this frothy ferment, this little folklore, this yeast wrangling of farmhouse magic, it's time to top off your glass, crack open something crisp, and settle in. Because right now, it's Beer 30. This is the part of the show where we raise a pint, salute our brewing gods, and get in to the mood for the main pour. After the break, we're going to be talking about Kveik, where it comes from, why it's cool, and why it might just change the way you brew forever.
I love it.
So stick around.
You're going to have a good time.
Oh, man. It's going to be great. I am excited to share this week's episode with everybody.
Well, did you bring a Kveik yeast?
As a matter of fact, I did.
Yes.
I got what could be one of the last two in existence. For all I know,
Nice.
This comes to us from Atwood Farm Brewery out of Linden, the former Atwood Farm
Oh,
Brewery.
tears in my beer.
They have permanently closed.
That's sad when a brewery closes.
It is. This is the Dastarening Brett Scandinavian Pilsner. So brewed with Kveik and aged on in a Brett barrel.
In a Brett barrel?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's the
Very
only
nice.
It's the only Kveik I could find in the valley.
Okay.
Yeah. I searched far and wide.
Where did you find it?
I found this at Garden Path Fermentations
Uh-huh.
over on Higgins Airport Road. They had one online. I saw it online and had to rush out there and snag it.
Grab that bad boy.
I'm gonna struggle with this wax seal.
Yeah,
up
it's
here.
got a big wax cap on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to carve that thing
I think
out.
you
real
cut
quick.
it out a little bit. Wow, you hear that knife? Don't cut yourself.
I'm a pro. I was a Boy Scout, goddammit. I
right.
cut myself for a living.
Many times. I whittled my fingers right
That's
off.
right. I did too. I remember one at Boy Scout camp. I was whittling by lantern light, not recommended. And slicing my finger, I had to go to the doctor's office.
Yep, you were not whittling away from yourself, were you?
I was whittling right into my
Right
thumb.
into your thumb.
Oh,
Oh, hear that.
that did the trick.
Oh, hurry up. Hurry it up.
Little froth action.
Little
you
bit
know,
of-
little drive on the way here. This is bottle condition, so we'll get another glass over here. Thank you, sir.
Wow.
Pouring with a little too much vigor there.
You are. Can you see?
No, I have no depth perception.
Let me
It's
let me
all,
help you.
it's
God
all
dang.
it's all over there to me.
This was too much. This is too expensive of a beer to waste.
I don't know why they let me do any of that stuff.
I mean, the head on that thing is
It's a
90% of my glass.
It's 90%.
Oh my
head.
goodness. Dog, shut up. Don't laugh at my head. Oh,
Just swirl it around a little bit.
I'm swirling.
Oh shit, that
Oh,
smells
it
so
smells
good.
good.
Goddamn.
Woo! Fruity esters
Yeah,
in there.
I'm getting that kind of like Brett nose.
Not much Brett though, which is very
Kinda,
nice.
It's kind of that distinctive kind of like. It does have a distinctive aroma.
Mm-hmm.
For those who know, you know, you know.
Mm. Pretty smooth. It doesn't have too much of a Brett character.
No horse blanket to it.
No. No bubble gummy or nothing like that.
It does have kind of
pretty clean.
Is it a little citrusy or tropical, you think?
I think it's more citrus.
Well, that could mean it was a Voss derivative yeast culture. But I get a little more. I get a little more tropical, perhaps.
I think so. Pineapple-y?
Yeah,
maybe.
Which is a distinctive of some of the Hornindal cultures.
Yeah.
Speaking with our friends over at Enzyferm, the Kveik Yeastery, really cool.
You got more of that.
Oh yeah, I've spilled upon my script.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
I could pour from now on.
That's probably a good idea. I think I've spilled enough beer on near spendy equipment to
I love it.
retire. It's like, thank you for volunteering for that, because I was never going to ask for help. That is great. This is tasty beer.
Tasty.
I better get a picture of it, eh?
Made with 100% local malt and hops.
Oh, really?
It's bottle conditioned. Pour in a glass. Leave sediment on the bottle. Trying to find some probably Skagit Valley malting.
Could be.
Well, that's
Well,
really local malt,
right? But it was a farm. They could have been growing their own.
Yeah, that's really hard to do.
Yeah. It's not impossible. Just ask. Let's get a picture of that glass here. So we would send you to how to get this, but unfortunately they are the no more.
The last one of its kind.
Yeah, there was a second one at Garden Path. So
One left.
You race there.
One.
On your mark, set, go.
The one of two.
Yeah, literally. And I think the other one might be in Bellingham.
At Elizabeth Station, maybe.
Yeah, or no, it was at
at
the
the
Great
Garden
Northern Bottle
Great
Shop.
Northern
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
I like this beer.
I like it. I didn't get any carbonation in mine.
All of it came out. That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's what happens when blind guys fucking pour beer. Bad things happen. Tasty beer.
So let's talk about some of this. The Kveik yeast.
Well, we're going to talk
And
a lot
how-
about it.
Oh yeah, and
We got a
how
whole
it,
show, yeah.
how it showcases in this beer. I mean, you can definitely taste some of those esters. You're talking maybe a little
Yeah.
bit tropical.
It's fruity for a pilsner,
Yeah.
right? So right off the bat, if this thing brewed out, and I perhaps don't have the clarity in this one because it is a bottle conditioned beer that rode in the seat of the car all the way over here, so it could have got a little jostled. So I'm going to blame that. I'm going to blame all the frothiness on that, and not the fact that I can't see it.
Okay, very nice.
So maybe it didn't drop as it was probably a clearer finish on it.
It probably was. I'm not too worried about the
before
clear
we touched
finish.
it. Yeah.
Not too worried about the clear finish. And some of that sediment gives it some flavor.
Yeah,
Which is nice. I like that.
But it does have it's nice and crisp. It is dry finish with a
you
slightly
got,
sweet edge.
You
on
got a
it.
dry finish on there.
I mean, it finishes really clean.
right.
And
Oh,
dry.
that's the carbonation.
Oh, you got some. Yeah. You want to try that one? Here you go. Try some.
Here, let me try it.
Try some
Let me
with
try
some bubbles in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's completely different. Actually, taste it.
Yeah. All
Taste
right,
that.
all right.
That's a very very flat version.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
But
Very
still
interesting.
good. Still good.
It's so good.
Fermented.
Oh, man. Totally different. Holy shit.
Yeah.
No, my apologies, my friend. I fucked your beer up.
You just made us two different tasting beers
Yeah,
from
that's
the
right.
same one. That's genius, in my opinion.
It's efficient. Quick, I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of my listeners of our listeners today. I want to give a shout out to Zachary and John. These two guys, they found the show while at sea on deployment.
Wow.
Listened to the show. They came and had a learn to brew class. last
cool.
Sunday with me, and it was fantastic. So, Urata, you guys are killing it. I hope your beer is going. You should be bubbling away right by now. Hell, you'll be damn near done by the time you hear this. Also, big shout out to Allison, who's in today, giving me feedback on the show. Loves the show.
Okay, good.
So hello, Allison. Thank you so
Allison.
much. You guys are rad. Love to hear that feedback. Anytime you guys want to send some my way, you can email me at brew@nwbrewers.com or on Facebook, nwbrewers.com. That is the home of this show.
Yep, it is. It is. And bring some beer down there.
You know, we're full service. We'll help you drink it too.
We love homebrews.
Yeah.
We love it. And even if you're a pro brewer,
Yeah.
feel free to invite us.
Oh man, that's tasty.
It is. I'm trying to get my my portable system going.
Oh, so we can take this show on the road.
We can, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Super easy.
Because there's several good spots I would love to do a show from. I know Terramar's got some good location.
Oh my gosh, that's a great spot.
The Temperate Habits downtown has a nice little balcony. We could do a show from. It would be kind of cool. Farmstrong's got a fantastic facility we could do a show from.
Yep.
I'm sure that'd be cool. You guys want to see a live show? Like that would kind of cool. That would be kind of cool.
Yep.
Get some guests up in there and yak about beer in front of a live audience.
In front of a live audience.
Yeah.
All right.
No edits, just
Right.
live. All shenanigans, guaranteed.
We'll just be able to read right off the script. First time.
Well, yeah, that'll never.
I am Casey Kasem, professional.
That's a terrible Casey Kasem.
I know, it sucks. My impersonations, I can only do what I can only do the accented voices.
Well, Casey Kasem. I'm Casey Kasem.
I'm Casey Kasem.
Joining us today
that's pretty
in
decent.
the studio from is Øystein, Bakken, Vold from the
Øystein, Bakken, Vold.
If Casey Kasem were doing it here, yeah.
We're getting ready for Kornolf Festivalen. Kornolfen.
Is that the Farmhouse Festival?
That is the Farmhouse
Ivar was
Festival
talking about.
in Norway.
Yeah,
Coming up first week of October.
Oh yeah, we might need to buy some tickets.
It's probably so they say the biggest beer festival in the world.
Biggest Farmhouse Fest. Yeah.
Biggest Farmhouse Fest, and I think one of the oldest.
Yeah, could have been.
the
Yeah, that we gotta make that shit happen.
We yes, we definitely need to go on the road to Norway.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that
So we just set up like a Patreon for
Yeah.
that. Like, hey, send us to Norway. Like,
There we go.
great. Send a couple beer nerds. Send a couple drunks to Norway. What could go right?
we'll just start up a GoFundMe.
Oh, that's tasty beer.
It
Even
is.
flat. It's good. Here you
Swan
go.
Songs.
Yeah.
Okay, so Swan Songs number 2. What does that mean?
Well, it was
On
kind
the
of like
bottle.
it was the final batches as they bid farewell.
Oh, was it? Okay.
They announced their closure and it was going to be a long drawn out process.
Do we know what happened to them?
So it was a solo operation, for one thing, and with a working farm to deal with. I think the landscape post COVID. It's hard. It's hard to be in any business. Period.
Yeah.
So many. I think 70% all new businesses
When it was one
end in 2 years.
one owner,
Yeah.
owner brewer.
Doing it all,
Did
and I
the
think
work.
just it wasn't really burnout, but it was like, man, this is the direction that I read an article on the Washington Beer Blog. It says the direction that we needed to go to stay afloat was not the direction that they wanted to go
Right.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they said, it was fun. We had a good 7-year run, which is amazing. Yep.
Yeah.
For any business.
Yeah, I know how hard it is to close down. It's a big decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big decision.
Never one. It's never an overnight decision.
Yeah, it's a life decision right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like your baby.
Right.
I mean, you work on it for a long time and you pour your heart and your soul into it for years, and then to see it just
You're gonna grieve. You're gonna grieve on that shit for sure. Yeah.
you're gonna grieve on it.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years now for me, and it's still It's still hard.
Kind of like amputation.
Yeah.
It's like there's an itch where it used to be.
The ghost
right?
feelings of it, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, I miss it. I miss it. I miss being there, being around the people. I miss everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't miss the paycheck.
There's that.
Yeah.
There's that.
Aerospace pays. For real. Well,
so we've got a pretty cool cool thing going on today. I was approached a number of weeks ago by the CEO of Enzyferm, which is a Norwegian Kveik yeast company, like new yeast company, just releasing in the United States, and was talking about their product lineup and kind of the cool things they have going on. And I mentioned this show, and I was like, hey, you guys ever do a podcast? Like, I'd love to have you on. And they came back with like, yes, that would be amazing. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I would love to like get some history and some technical information. I'd love to. It's like, well, let me make a few phone calls. Right. And Lars rounded up, an amazing line. Yes, Leif. Sorry about that. Leif lined up an amazing panel that we get to talk about. Joining us is Øystein Bakken Vold, the CEO of Enzyferm and co-founder of the company. Øystein has an awesome combo of brewing knowledge, biological know-how, has built an entire yeast production facility dedicated to Kveik, and has been deeply involved in developing these multi-strain products from spore to sachet. So technical questions about Kveik, he's the guy with the answers.
Our next guest is Lars Huse, and he is the head brewer of Ølsmia. That's Norwegian for alesmith, which is pretty cool. Small brewery, small but mighty brewery in Oslo. Lars is a hands-on brewer who works almost exclusively with Kveik across various styles. Get ready for some styles for this, from IPAs to sours and everything in between. He's got a good rounded knowledge about that. He's passionate about using the Norwegian ingredients, and he's pushing the boundaries of what the Kveik can do for your modern craft beer.
And last but not least, we are joined by Ivar Geithung, a traditional farmhouse brewer and farmer from just outside Voss, Norway. Ivar is the real deal. He's the one who rediscovered Selen Kveik strain on his family farm. He's got deep roots in a traditional brewing and a wealth of knowledge. This guy's a historian, in his soul, and a brewer on the side. His knowledge about how this yeast was used long before it hit homebrew shops and commercial tanks is profound. Really excited to have him on the show today.
Well, that is one fantastic lineup, Ben. That concludes our Beer 30 segment. We're going to give a little bit of a love to our sponsor, and we will be right back.
In the shadows of your garage, a new power awaits. Craft your own wine, just as crafty as my legacy. At Northwest Brewer Supply, you'll find the finest ingredients and tools. It's never been easier. Everything you seek in one place. Training is nothing. The will is everything. The will to act. So why buy another bottle when you never have to at Northwest Brewer Supply? A hero can be anyone. Even someone doing something as simple as making their own wine. Start today at Northwest Brewer Supply.
Celebrity voices impersonated poorly.
Morning.
Good morning, Ben.
How are you today, Øystein?
I'm good. We'll just turn up my volume here a bit.
Very good. I'm excited for today. This is going to be awesome.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It was a lot of questions. I had to take some good notes, and yeah.
We'll see how many we get to today. I know there's so much to unpack in this topic. Lars, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see if I'm going to turn my volume up, make sure I've got all the dots.
There we go. Now I can hear everybody. Like I was about saying, we've got, a little over an hour. We've got there's a lot of directions we can go. We'll get to as much as we can and make this as, I think it's going to be a good show. I'm biased, but that doesn't make me wrong.
I think it's great that Lars could join us, which gives the brewer's perspective, and also Ivar, which has the historical perspective. He's reading, old writings from back to the Viking age, where they tell stories about Kveik and beer brewing, and he has a lot of great stories to tell. So,
oh man, yeah, I wish we could have an 8-hour show. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah. We still wouldn't do it justice, I don't think.
Well, you're asking some really good questions. You're pushing me a little bit.
Well, it won't. We won't hold your. We won't hold your neck to the fire or anything like that. We'll keep it easy. I don't know is a good answer sometimes. We just have to, the research is still out on that topic.
Oh, they're good. They're good questions, right? Okay. And we're not used to getting some of those questions. We're not used to getting. So it's a good practice for us to answer those kind of questions too, right? So
very good, very good. And so I understand you're a home brewer as well. Is that, or is that some? Was that accurate in my notes?
Yeah, I started out as a home brewer, and now I have other people to brew for me, like Lars.
Good job, Lars. Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I'm a home brewer myself, and I ended up working in a homebrew supply store a couple years ago, and purchased the company, and now doing this podcast to remind everyone that beer is as cool as we know it is. Very exciting. A couple more minutes here. We got my partner in crime, Andrew, should be on the call, as well as we have Ivar inbound, I'm sure. Yeah, that's very good. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. This is gonna be pretty slick. There's a lot to unpack. I just found this morning, there's a Farmhouse Yeast registry. Oh my gosh, just picking through that, where all this stuff came from, and style, descriptive elements, and fermentation times. Oh boy, I'm in trouble now. Let's see. Yeah, these farmhouse environments with the same cook pot your granddad used, and all the same gear, kind of shaped the trajectory for these yeast. With that in mind, you've gone on to build a yeast lab, a modern lab for these ancient wild yeast. How's that different in terms of your the production? Any changes in the production versus, say, a modern yeast lab and your lab for Kveik?
Well, it's kind of a paradox, right? You're building a high-tech facility for something that's deeply traditional. First off, a lot of people think Kveik is a wild yeast. It's not. It's domesticated, just in a different way. Modern yeasts were bred in labs. Kveik is not. It was shaped by generations of farmhouse brewers. So our job when creating the factory was it wasn't to tame the yeast. It was to preserve the yeast and its character while ensuring quality and consistency. So designing the yeast factory, it starts with respecting the yeast's nature. Kveik thrives under hot, fast, and low stress conditions. So we built that into the process. We optimized propagation temperatures to match the way it was used historically, rather than force it into cold industrial routines. And at the same time, we still use clean room practices, controlled aeration, selective media, all the tools that modern microbiology, all the tools of modern microbiology. And to keep the cultures free from contamination, but not stripped of its complexity. And that's especially important for multi-strain cultures because we want the complexity there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about balance. We're not trying to polish the Kveik into something sterile and boring. We're giving it a stage to do what it already does best, basically.
And since these cultures are already growing up in together. Normally they're not. Are you having any problems with like different growth rates for different species within the culture?
Not within the culture. The cultures are stable, and we have techniques to maintain the stability in the culture. But of course, between the cultures, there are different. There's different growth.
Lars, I'm excited. You are working. You've got a brewery in Oslo, I understand.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're doing modern beers with almost exclusively Kveik yeast now.
Yeah, pretty much.
What drove you to go all in on Kveik?
Well, I mean, it's not exactly by incident, but it's sort of. I mean, the beer market today is what it is. Then how are you going to make beers that's going to stand apart from everybody else that's trying to do the same sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the focuses that I have in the brewery is to try to make as local and as Norwegian beer as possible, but not necessarily adhering to specific styles. It doesn't have to be like traditional ales or anything like that. And then since there is a yeast producer in Norway, you better make sure to use it. Same with malt. I use pretty much only Norwegian malt, which is not so common, but there is producers now that will supply. So in that respect, very logical. Also, the brewery is, it is what it is. It's not the most modern brewery, so anything that will help me to shorten the production time is absolutely fantastic.
That was kind of my obvious.
So that's one part of it. I don't necessarily make the heaviest IPAs these days.
That's okay.
I don't. The funny thing is, I use the Kveik cultures, maybe a little bit different than a lot of other people do. But I do a lot of lower alcohol beers with it, which is like you wouldn't think about that at all, but it works excellent in the way that it's, you're kind of working against the ideal situations for the yeast. So.
Welcome, Ivar. Thank you for joining us. I know it's the end of day for getting on end of day for you guys. It's I still got my coffee.
It's only 7 o'clock.
No problem. I just have to check. Do you read me?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear.
Nice.
Very good. I understand you're kind of the historian, and I believe I caught you on a YouTube channel, Chop and Brew, back in 2019. So I just I just found that early this morning. I was like, that guy's being on my show. I'm really excited now. Shit, this is great. So Ivar, you still you're brewing? You got this is your family farmhouse you're at now?
I learned to brew from my father-in-law. I'm from Oslo myself, but I came here 20 three years ago, and learn brewing from him in the first month I was there, and I was just hooked. Yeah. And I was asking him for whatever he knew, and he brewed the old style brewing with ancient gear, been on the farm for hundreds of years.
Are you still brewing with some of that gear?
What?
Are you still brewing with some of that ancient gear?
Yeah, all the old. I had to change some of the buckets, so that's not original, but the rest of the brew gear is original. So, yeah, I was all in the first time I tasted it, and the first time I saw it was brewed.
Yeah.
And I was lucky because at that time the old guy still lived. So I brewed with them for 3 months before my father-in-law died. But I was on him all the time to learn all the old traditions, exactly how the brew gear was built from time to time, every smallest detail. And when he died, I started to look up old books to learn about how it was done other places. So yeah, I'm punch on this brewery. I enjoy American brews as well, a lot, but for me, I can get that from elsewhere. So I focus on what I can do. Hopefully save this old tradition.
Yeah. A question I have for like a roundtable question. If you've got one style, one culture and one beer, like desert island, can't do without, what's that beer and strain combination for you? We'll start with Lars.
I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know. I just want to play with it.
Yeah.
And I can play, it's fine to play with it a lot, I think. But it needs, I'm really digging the Stallion for like a super crushable cream ale blonde thing. And I think I'm going to play with some enzymes as well to make the attenuation better for that. See where that's going. Like super crisp, crushable. I just like the fruitiness of the culture, and like it's so good. So that's what I want to do.
Ivar, how about you? What's your go-to?
I can't answer anything else than homebrew.
Yeah.
Traditional homebrew from Ceylon.
This is the way.
But what I like a smash with Hersbrucker low IBU hops, and so you can taste all the fruitiness in the different Kveiks. I always recommend people to go the first time you brew with Kveik, go smash, go low IBU, get it sweet. Sweetness helps with the flavor, and then you can pick your favorite and then play with it.
Very cool.
Well, don't use hops at all.
What's your go-to there?
This is like, I have 4 children. I don't want to promote one of them.
They're all my favorites.
They're all my favorites in their own special way, right? No, to do high fermentations, warm fermentations, I would go to Voss. For the IPAs, I would maybe go to Ebbegarden. For the malty beers, I would do Eiterheim. And what I'm playing around with right now is doing low temperature fermentations with Stallion. And that's really, really exciting. It's really fun to see what it's doing even at low temperatures. So that's the best answer I can give you. And I have another child coming hopefully this year, which will also be exciting.
Can you share a little bit more information on this upcoming blessing?
I don't want to share too much, but it will be something new in the market. Of course, we're not here to develop something that's already existing in the market. So we want to bring something new to the table. That's how we think about product development.
I like that. Well, keep me posted. We'll go when that's ready. I'd love to have you back on. We can talk some more about that one as soon as it releases.
Sure thing.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. I recall we did a lager episode a couple of weeks ago, and some of that research led us down the rabbit hole that they'd done some recent research and they'd isolated a wild yeast from Patagonia had bred in Bavarian lager caves to give us a unique strain, the Saccharomyces eubayanus or Pasteurianus. Was there? I understand there's some research on that's setting Kveik yeasts apart as well. Could you touch on some of that?
Of course. Kveik stands out from other brewing yeasts, and especially common Saccharomyces cerevisiae ale strains, and it's due to a combination of genetic, physiological, and phenotypic traits that make it uniquely robust and efficient. And first of all, Kveik yeasts form a genetically distinct clade within the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, separate from modern industrial strains. And genomic sequencing shows that they diverged from other ale yeasts hundreds of years ago. All the Kveiks are thermotolerant. They thrive at temperatures that would stress or kill most brewing yeasts, and some strains can even ferment cleanly above 100 degrees. They all ferment fast. Usually, fermentation completes in 1 to 3 days at warm temperatures, and that's due to the fast sugar metabolism in the yeasts. All the Kveiks, or not all the Kveiks, but a lot of the Kveiks are high flocculators, which means that the yeasts often drop out of suspension quickly, and that aids in the natural clarification. And this is tied up to the upregulated FLO genes in the yeast. The Kveik strains are known to have unique aroma profiles, and they usually produce tropical and citrusy esters, even at high temperatures. And they all tolerate stress really well. They handle high gravity warts, and some strains can handle ABV up to 15-16%, which is really, really high. And last but not least, and maybe the most significant difference of all, Kveiks are multi-strain cultures, often including 2 to 12 yeast strains with complementary characteristics, which means you have one strain that is really speedy and ferments really fast, and then you have another strain that creates all these nice esters, and then you have a third strain that is a big flocculator, for example. And this gives you a much more complex flavor profile, and of course, it's another tool for the brewer to play with when creating new beers.
Øystein, so we were talking. One of the characteristics these yeasts are going to ferment really, really hot. How does that? Is there a process? How does that avoid some of the traditional off flavors? That so many other ale yeasts are going to be exhibiting.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's actually one of the most magical things about Kveik. hot, fast fermentations without the typical swamp or fusels, sulfur or solvent weirdness that you'd expect at those temperatures.
Yeah.
So first of all, Kveik produces lots of heat shock proteins called HSP, and these act like tiny bodyguards for the cells. It keeps the enzymes and membranes stable even at high temperatures, which means the yeast keeps fermenting cleanly, while other strains would start to freak out. And secondly, the enzymes inside the Kveik are built differently. Where most yeasts struggle above 80 degrees, Kveik's enzymes keep working. And especially the ones that handle amino acids, esters, and fatty acids. They're heat tolerant and they don't go haywire. And third, Kveik knows how to handle fusel alcohols. It controls the genes that makes them and then quickly turns them into fruity esters like citrus or pineapple instead of harsh solventy stuff.
That's kind of cool. So it's the normal problem children. It's in the batch are being converted into other flavors. Man, that's cool. That's really cool stuff.
Yeah, and it barely produces sulfur, for example. And even when it's under heat stress, it keeps the sulfur compounds like hydrogen sulfide and DMS to a minimum.
What temperature are these strains going to get heat stressed at? Like, that's kind of weird.
Well, you need to go well above 40, I would say. But then when you get to those temperatures, they start struggling with other stuff, right? So they stop fermenting if it gets too warm. So then that becomes the problem if you go too warm.
100 degrees I have tested pitching at 45 C.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that's
do your math.
Yeah, he said that he's fermented up to 110 degrees, and that's very warm, and it works fine. And then for some of the strain or the cultures, for other cultures, even 45 could be a little too high. I've done one at I think it was 114, which is the highest that we've gone. So, but of course, it's not an optimal temperature.
It's a yeast culture that's unconcerned with temperature to a huge degree. Pitch rate, apparently, drying condition. Like, how many rules is this yeast going to break?
It's perfect. That's so suited to dry yeast.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you such a. I mean, it's a 9-day thing because I don't really buy wet pitches, so it's perfect.
It's good times, man.
It will break more rules, but I'm sure that we'll get to that later during this conversation.
Oh yeah.
I must say one thing with Kveik Yeastery company. They actually do the multi-strain. They focus on the tradition, and to have that in a bag, you can have it for I don't know how long, but just to take care of the multi-strain part is the most important thing I think they do.
And also not problematic with I've had no issues with diastaticus or anything like that in the cultures as well, so that's perfect. Non-hop tolerant. It's not really an issue. You think about introducing multi-strain cultures into the brewery. That's scary. But nope, not a concern.
So Kveik Yeastery is doing the multi-strain stuff. So some of the other I guess those would be some of the other available yeast. Are those monoculture strains? large?
The Voss from L'Allemand is a single strain that's picked out, and you can taste it. It's not very. I'm sure it ferments well at higher temperatures, and it does the dance, but it's just it has this distinct flavor of. It's like a very simple. You can taste it's Voss, but it's such a simple version of it. Like you lack like the
complexity,
the high notes and the low notes. It's just like you just have this yeah.
It's missing the harmonies.
It's not great.
The bass line and the harmony and the
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Can you elaborate on some of those profiles for the your five or your strains that you guys are working through? Like like a basic I think we mentioned Voss is citrusy, Hornadal kind of tropical. Do you have kind of like basic crib notes version for your offerings?
For the Voss, you will get some orange marmalade, citrus flavors. For the Ebbe Garden, you will get more of apple and pear. It also promotes bitterness from the hops. The Eitrheim will give you more of stone fruit. Fits very well with malty and darker beers, I think.
So deep flavors in that, like super ripe plums and such.
Yeah,
very delicious.
Yeah, and the Stallion is the most, let's say, neutral of them. It still has tropical flavors of pineapple and such, but it's still the most neutral of the yeast types that we have, together with Eitrheim, I would say. Is that correct, Lars?
Yeah. I would say I haven't played around as much with Ebbe Garden. I'm pretty well with Ebbe Garden right here. Voss I've used a lot for like quick, easy, like golden ales, and I did a stout with it. So I think, that can also be fairly clean, but I think that's fair. I've made. I made a beer de garde with chanterelle mushrooms with Eitrheim, and that was really nice and clean. Whereas I did that was lower temperatures, and I did higher temperatures, and it was very fruity. Did a plum beer with that, and that was worked very well together. I agree. Those two are the cleanest ones. Major difference in those two is attenuation, I think. Well, obviously they're totally different cultures and the flavors are different, but they can be clean. But Eitrheim will attenuate much better than Stallion, depending on the grist. Obviously, there's so many factors that plays into it, but very generally.
Misconceptions that brewers might have about Kveik yeast that definitely need to get cleared up, and I'll present that to an open question to the panel.
Yep.
Yep.
I think it's so Øystein had a talk in a beer festival that I put on mid March, so a month ago, and the fact that Kveik has been seen as like a 2017 thing is I think that's the large misconception. There's been so many shitty beers made with Kveik that it's kind of got a bad rep. That's more about the actual beers than the use of Kveik. It was like a whole big thing that I feel sort of died down a little bit, but I think I don't agree with that at all.
Clearly, you've gone all in at the brewery, so that's awesome. What's your brewery's name, Lars?
Ølsmia.
Ølsmia?
Ølsmia. It's alesmith. That's in Norwegian. I didn't come up with the name, so it wasn't me. But that is what I inherited. So
there you go.
I've tried to make that work. So try to make as Norwegian beer as possible with a very Norwegian name for a brewery.
Very Norwegian. There you go.
I can say something about misconceptions, Ben.
Go for it.
There are quite a few misconceptions around Kveik, and one of the biggest misconceptions is that Kveik is a wild yeast, while it's not. It's domesticated, just in a different way than lab-grown strains. It's been selected and reused by farmhouse brewers for generations. So it's rustic, but it's not unpredictable like wild yeast. And another common one is thinking that you have to ferment it hot. And while it can handle 100 to 105 degrees like a champ, and often shines there, it doesn't have to. Many strains will ferment clean and quick, even down to 54 and 60 degrees, like I mentioned earlier. And finally, some brewers expect Kveik to be a one-size-fits-all solution, but the cultures are really diverse. Voss, Ebbegarden, Stallion, Eitrheim, each has its own personality. Some are citrusy and clean, and others are more fruity. So just like any other yeast, match the yeast to the beer style, and make some good beer. It's this all comes down to where Kveik evolved, right? It's a Norwegian farmhouse brewer. Norwegian farmhouse brewers, they pitched it hot and fermented fast, and it fermented in a couple of days. And over generations, that environment shaped the yeast that thrives in heat, ferments clean, and it doesn't need any babysitting.
Yeah.
And there was a natural selection as well. If you had a yeast that gave a lot of off flavors, no one wanted it, so they just got some yeast from their neighbor or just got some new yeast. So they started producing or making beer from the yeast that produced clean, right? So the natural selection is really what made these yeasts.
So Voss is a region that's a specific region in Norway. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Voss. So I mean, I've had limited experience. There's a lot of different strains I don't have access to. But the first one I had was a Voss put out by Lallemand. We had a unique weather event here a number of years ago. They called it a heat dome, and it just trapped hot air right over the state, and it was unseasonably 100 plus degrees. We don't get that, at this latitude, we don't get that hot. So we played with the yeast, and it was 3 days later at 100 degrees, no problem. That was exciting. So that region, so you're saying some of the flavor profiles from yeast in that region are citrusy. And so other strains like Hornedal, those are also regionally specific.
They're more into like tropical fruits.
Okay. It makes me thirsty, is what it does.
Yeah.
Turns out not. That's not that hard for me. My notes says you've got your own yeast strain, or you found your own yeast strain on your farm.
Yeah,
it's
now confirmed. Yeah,
it's been confirmed.
So, yeah, and I call it yeast culture, not strain.
It is a mix. It would be appropriate as a culture, since it's how many in the culture? How many unique players?
Yeah, that depends on the researcher. It depends on how close you are going to say they are related, the different cells.
Okay.
if you look at you heard of Lars Huse?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I got down the rabbit hole this morning, found his yeast registry.
Yeah. If you look at one of his videos, he explains that different researchers set up different amount of strains. So a yeast culture can be from 3 to 16 strains, depending on the researcher.
Okay. So how did you find your strain? Was it just hanging around? Did it come knocking on the door? What do we got going on?
Yeah, I was originally I got Kveik from Järnes when I understood that the Kveik was really unique, sort of yeast from Norway. And I live on an old farm, and it's brew gear here from hundreds and hundreds of years back, and I used old brew gear myself. And in one of a broken old barrel, it was what do you call that? Dried out beer, and that I used for growing up a culture, and then I pitched, and then I started to use it, and then different yeast labs have tested it and confirmed it.
Very exciting.
And it became a part of a big yeast research going on now in with Richard Price in Canada. And they took a genetic test and did it quite deep. So today it's confirmed as a unique Kveik.
It's very cool. What's the what flavor characteristics are you getting in your?
Strangely enough, all the flavors around Vold is often explained with citrus. This one, both on blind test and people talking and tasting, say cherry. Not sweet cherry, but sour cherry flavor.
So it's down through families. You like trading with your neighbor if your strain goes south, or or inheriting your brewing gear on the farmstead. Talk to me about this yeast, the drying out, this yeast ability to dry out and preserve this culture forever, apparently.
I'm sorry, I lost the sound. Was there a question for me now?
I was asking Ivar about this passing down yeast, or the preservation of these cultures. My understanding is just drying this stuff out keeps it viable long term as well. Is that an accurate representation, Ivar, for some of these like traditional
For the old timers, it was just to either top crop when it was on the highest, or bottom crop when all the yeast had fell down. There is no exact rule on that. You can find in all the writings, both things has been done in both districts. On the technical bit, I think Øystein can explain how the yeast cells managed to do it, but in old school you just used a log or a yeast what do you call it? Gjærkrans. And you put it in the slurry, hung it on the wall, and it dried up in a couple of days. And you just throw that in when you had your wort at the right temperature again.
So So how is the as far as the Norwegian beer scene, How is Kveik beers? Is that a dominant picture in the beer scene out there, or is it still you guys are having the same kind of like micro?
People are way too into the American beers mostly. I think pastry stouts and IPAs and fruited sours, whatever, and there's nothing local about anything about it. It doesn't really have any history, or it's just kind of it's untapped.
Well, that's you've got differentiation on your side.
Remember that the biggest brew evolution and revolution is made by America in the 1960s and 70s. I read a lot of history, lots from everything I can find. That's the biggest thing happening in brew history ever.
Yeah.
I think there's in Norway as well, we're people of travelers, so we are very influenced by other countries, regardless of whatever it is. If it's music, if it's films or food, whatever, we don't really look too much inward. We look a little bit too much outward, I think. So
we stopped the rape and the pillaging, though.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Women.
It wasn't popular.
Yeah, wildly unpopular, it turns out.
Yeah. I figured y'all had all the beautiful women already.
Yeah, we do. My wife will listen to this podcast.
My wife might eventually. My wife, she's a redhead through and through. I've met the Viking side of her, and it's captivating and frightening all at the same time.
No, but I think Lars is onto something there, because we're a small country, and we're always looking outside to find and discover new things, and that shapes us as well as society. We're not as we travel abroad when we go on vacation. We don't use the areas close to ourselves. We're always looking abroad, so that influences the beer scene in Norway as well in a big way, I would say.
But then you see that a lot of other people, like Oslo is weird, because I don't know. But whenever I go outside of Oslo, and if Sweden or whatever, then the interest in Kveik beers is a lot higher, because it's something different. Not that it's like super saturated in Oslo at all, because it is not. But now we're starting to see a little bit more of it, like people regaining some interest and new people discovering it, which is, we need that. And it's pretty exciting. It's just, there's so much imports that's dominating the big guys with the industrial breweries, and everything's getting more expensive. So there's like the whole of that. But I think we're definitely going in a good direction. It's just taking a while.
Yeah, everything takes a while.
So we get a lot of interest from far abroad. Like, of course, the US is a big market for us. But we get interest in South America. We get requests from Japan. All over the place. And we also see interest from other industries that we are used to. It's not only beer. We have a tequila producer in Mexico. That's they reached out to us, and now they're testing our yeast for tequila production. We are testing, or we're doing testing with whiskey distilleries. So we're also seeing a lot of interest from other industries, not just the beer industry, which we think is great and of course really exciting. So now I get to taste tequila, and I get to drink whiskey, in addition to beer, of course.
That's always good. That's cool.
I tested one, the first whiskey that came with Kveik on Kornøy Festival. I tried both the raw cut or the moonshine, and the finished product, and that's fruity. You can taste the Kveik in the distillate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
no doubt.
That's cool. I'll have to keep an eye out for some of that, or fire up the kettle or something quickly. Let's see. Is some of it falling in line with kind of your the accepted pitch rate calculations for other Saccharomyces cerevisiae strains?
Yes. Our pouches are smaller than the typical ale yeast sachets that you find in the market. And the reason for that is why put more yeast in there than you need, right? So our 7 gram sachets performs really well. And there's not a big difference in either fermentation speed or flavors if you use 7 grams or if you use 10 grams. The flavors are pretty much the same, and the fermentation speed is also pretty much the same. And the reason for that is the doubling time that this yeast has, right? It doubles in less than an hour. So it goes from 7 grams to 14 grams in, like that.
If you want to do traditional like Ivar, then you make the Mariaue and the high gravity starter. And then, that's what you would do traditionally.
And I must say another thing as well, because I don't brew like 30 liters. I brew like 150. So it's a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're trying to make a lot at a time there.
The reason why I pitch so much is that I want the fermentation to start fast, so I don't have to think about getting bad beer. That it should have so much alcohol after short time that other things don't thrive in the brew.
Right.
Which is very important when you're not using much hops, obviously.
Some of the traditional Norwegian ones are not as hopped, are they?
I use quite a bit of hop because that's what I've learned, and have been done. And I also prefer to use the local Ceylon hop, who's been here for thousands of years. And but you can choose both. You can choose what you like. But I both have learned that from my father-in-law and read about it, that it was not usual to go very low on hops.
Right.
But some people like low hops. Why not?
Brew what you love, right? That was one of the questions from the homebrew community, was how it handles like flaked oat or flaked corn. Raw,
I can weigh in on that. In all traditional brewing, it was always with oats, because all grain growing in Norway from ancient times has been duoculture with 6-row barley and oats. So they are used to ferment in oats.
Okay.
Rye, on the other hand, is a different story, but it's fantastic. If you want body, rye with a Kveik, it works really well.
Gosh. So you mentioned the grist. Are there certain like malt bills or grist bills that play nicer with some of these strains, or is it still in? You're still in the experimenting phase on some of these beers, or
Well, absolutely. Like rye, if you want a lot of body, then that it does not dry out too much for most of the strains. But it's very strain dependent too. Wheat oats works pretty well as long. Once you introduce darker malts, so like Maillard malt, caramel malts, then you're really pushing like the limits of what it can attenuate well. But if you want a sweet beer, obviously those are that's in your play chest of things. So fruity and sweet is obviously something that's also pleasurable to a lot of people.
Do these yeast behave differently at different temperatures in terms of flavor output?
Yeah, they do. If you ferment them at high temperatures, they will give you more esters than they do at low temperatures. So, but they still ferment clean even at high temperatures and low temperatures. But the higher the temperature, the more esters you will create. Basically.
Is some of it falling in line with kind of your the accepted pitch rate calculations for other Saccharomyces cerevisiae strains?
Yes. Our pouches are smaller than the typical ale yeast sachets that you find in the market. And the reason for that is why put more yeast in there than you need, right? So our 7 gram sachets performs really well. And there's not a big difference in either fermentation speed or flavors if you use 7 grams or if you use 10 grams. The flavors are pretty much the same, and the fermentation speed is also pretty much the same. And the reason for that is the doubling time that this yeast has, right? It doubles in less than an hour. So it goes from 7 grams to 14 grams in, like that.
If you want to do traditional like Ivar, then you make the Mariave and the high gravity starter. And then, that's what you would do traditionally.
And I must say another thing as well, because I don't brew like 30 liters. I brew like 150. So it's a different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're trying to make a lot at a time there.
The reason why I pitch so much is that I want the fermentation to start fast, so I don't have to think about getting bad beer. That it should have so much alcohol after short time that other things don't thrive in the brew.
Right.
Which is very important when you're not using much hops, obviously.
Some of the traditional Norwegian ones are not as hopped, are they?
I use quite a bit of hop because that's what I've learned and have been done. And I also prefer to use the local Ceylon hop, who's been here for thousands of years. And but you can choose both. You can choose what you like. But I both have learned that from my father-in-law and read about it, that it was not usual to go very low on hops.
Right.
But some people like low hops. Why not?
Brew what you love, right?
One example. This is a brown porter made with stallion at 21 degrees Celsius, and you would think it's more of an English ale yeast, but with much more complexity.
And was it done and of course it was done in a couple of days.
Well, I mean, it is a little bit whatever fits my production schedule, but it was finished fermenting pretty fast. It depends. Like this, we threw a lot of like oats. The Kveik strains aren't as fond of a lot of specialty malts, a lot of flake grains, so they will not attenuate as much. Like most of the strains are used to using just straight up Pilsner malt, you know.
Okay.
Super light colored, air dried, or smoked malt.
Your hack.
My hack. Well, I mean, for me, it comes all down to quick tricks. So wort composition, depending on your outcome, then oxygen, nutrients, and more nutrients. So zinc and. I mean, I would say that's the most important.
Nutrients.
I use Cervomyces, and I use a lot of Cervomyces as well for my fermentations. So, but yeah, nutrients, very important. Don't forget, don't skip it.
You know, it's probably a topic that doesn't come up a lot in a lot of barley based 100% barley beers. Needing as much. They're not as nutritionally needy as say certain wine strains. So Kveik definitely just ramp up your nutrition for performance.
Especially if you're doing lower gravity beers.
Lower gravity.
Very important. Like so, I mean, a lot of the beers, the traditional beers made in Kveik are higher original gravity. I don't make so much higher original gravity beers. So nutrients, it needs that little boost of, it's used to these like super dense environments.
Okay, that makes sense. Like it grew up here, and we throw it down here, and it's like, come on, we just want to support that a little bit. I get
also
that.
Fantastic for like low alcohol beers.
Okay,
for complexity and body, and that's fantastic.
If I can weigh in on that a little bit.
Yeah.
When I brew, I most often make a starter, and that starter I make with the first runnings. So that is with a lot of nutrients from the shell of the grain.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually boost the Kveik before I pitch. So I totally agree with the nutrient part, and I always also recommend modern brewers to use nutrients.
Awesome. Lars, very homebrew specific questions. I love the biology, I love the lab stuff. The history is, my jam. But for the average listener, are there specific styles that lend themselves better to, modern beer styles? Certain culture, yeast cultures that, you talked about an IPA. I know I've had some Saison flavors and some, Saison-like flavors in one of the Voss strains I use. But is there like a, prescription of, these for modern styles, which culture might be appropriate?
They're so versatile, these cultures, that they will pretty much work for any style. Like, I've used some of the cultures I've used more than others. But I feel, other than, say, attenuation and just yeast performance, like flavor-wise, it's extremely versatile. It depends a little bit on, obviously, pitch rate, your wort, and, all these other parameters that you give it. But obviously, IPA, absolutely. Then you have a lot of biotransformation happening with the hops. But, you can. I don't know. What I like to do is try to highlight the flavor of the individual Kveik strains. So, you could use a dark English style beer, perfect. Use say you want a little bit less attenuation, use Stallion. I use Eitrheim for the stronger, more malt-forward beers that I've made. I made so many different things. Like if you want to make like a fruited beer, perfect for that too. I make a cream ale that I've adjusted a little bit to it, but it's like 20% is flake maize. I'm using the Stallion now, and it's all like very crisp orchard fruit, not so like tropical. Where in higher temperatures you get more like pineapple, but like super ripe pear, apple, but not in like a acetaldehyde like off-putting way. It's like I feel like given the right sort of which is like the baseline of some of the ingredients you put in there, you can really highlight say like the terroir or whatever, right? From where these yeasts came from. So obviously there's a lot of them that are from the west coast of Norway, in places where there is massive fruit orchards, right? And these are farmhouse ales. They are from farms, and it definitely reflects that. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question though.
Another kind of roundtable question. What's one thing, what's one tip or trick or hack for Kveik yeast that you wish every brewer knew? Like, we'll start with you, Ivar.
I would always say go high on temperature and then a bit up.
Go high and then, sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
Go high on temperature and then you go a bit up.
Go up more, go more. Don't be afraid. I like that. Øystein, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I like Ivar's tip. And most brewers are thinking high temperature when they think of Kveik, fast fermenting, high temperature. That's what they think. I would advise brewers to go low. Kveik is so versatile, and right now I would say try brewing at low temperatures. I just fermented a Pilsner at 54 degrees with Stallion Kveik, and it finished in 7 days. The beer is super clean, which is what you expect from a Pilsner, and by going low, it gives you a whole lot of opportunities for brewers out there. If you can crank out the Pilsner in 7 days, that's magic
right there.
Works fantastic for unhopped beers too. I make a lot of root ales with Kveik.
Okay. What kind of roots?
What kind of root? I mean, whatever I can forage, really. So I make a lot of juniper infusion. I use the traditional ingredients you would use. So juniper, yarrow, America Gale, pine shoots. There's, the traditional brewing herbs in Norway, and not just Norway, but it's obviously what's local to you. Right? So,
you mentioned earlier the spruce, some of the spruce beers. Is there a specific spruce variety?
It's whatever grows in the woods. So
whatever's out back.
Well, I mean, there's I'm not a botanist in any way, but I don't think it's Sitka. What I have here, it's there's a few, it's just the most common Norwegian spruce, really. But that's for spruce tips. But for juniper, then there's a variety of that, and I've used pine as well. But juniper infusion is, the traditional thing in a lot of places. Not every place, but that's like one of the most common things in Norwegian brewing is using a juniper infusion for the strike water.
Oh, okay.
That's actually all traditional brewing, if you read.
So if you have juniper, you pretty much use juniper for brewing traditionally.
Yeah.
But then, with industrial brewing, etc., you lost a lot of that. And then with the, prevalence of hops taking over, hops is fairly new in the big scheme of things. So
in the long view of brewing.
Yeah, long view. Yeah.
In Norwegian brewing, hop is proven as farmed in. You have laws on that from year 940.
Yeah, which is pretty new.
Yeah.
And
it was 2 weeks ago, right?
And in European brewing, you can see it starts in 1600s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you use, mostly what you had available locally. And then you had, obviously, the influence of religion and the monks and whatever that would maybe, or people that would control things, right? Because beer and taxation has gone hand in hand. I guess, beer is such a big thing of society. So
right.
It's...
beer is the most political drink you can drink.
100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Political, polarizing, like it's the whole thing, man. I've been nerding on the topic for 15 years, and I'm certainly not bored with it. This has been really exciting. Thank you so much. What a fantastic treat. So glad we got to do this today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, and I'll keep you posted on our new products coming up for sure.
And thank Leif for me when you see him next time in the office there. Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
See you.
Peace.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Man, that was awesome. I don't think I've geeked out over yeast this hard, and I'm a guy who owns 3 hydrometers.
I know, and I learned so much. I mean, I can't believe what we're talking about. One thing I couldn't believe was how old this strain was.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I thought this was a fairly new thing, just because of our market. Came to market and bam, but it's old.
It's older. It's like this side of dirt,
right? And
right?
now I've noticed that. Now I know that Kveik has multiple strains.
That was something definitely that kind of got glossed over in the early years, for sure. Mixed culture would have been a little more stable for the kind of conditions these guys were using them in.
Yeah.
The high temperature one was that's one we know about.
That's crazy. And the esters you get from that.
Yeah, I did. At some point I got to do a little digging on kind of, how they were producing these beers, and they were just, they'd boil it up and.
Yep, and just go.
And when it cooled down later, they'd pitch it.
Degrees.
Like, yeah,
Pitch
fine.
it 80.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Go get it done. Yeah.
I mean, I fermented at probably 90 degrees is my highest.
Yeah.
I've done it. Yep, I remember you were talking about in the shop that you did.
Yeah, because it had gotten up to like 98 degrees indoors.
Right,
like,
so you're up to 100.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Or so. But that's a fast fermentation. I mean,
absolutely,
that goes quick.
Kind of
are done in 3 days.
The takeaways I was getting from this was that fast fermentation. Like it tracks with what we know from yeast. The warmer the temperature, the faster the yeast are going to get the job done.
Yes.
And so if they've got really, really heat tolerant strains, it kind of stands to reason they're faster. And if they've been selecting for the fastest ones over time, they've got a culture that just is get her done.
Get her done.
That was cool.
And the flavor
that's
profiles
cool.
that it comes with. I mean, by strain, the notes of citrus and the tropical fruits.
Yeah, I want some of that.
Light stone fruits and light spices.
I want some of that because I've had a lot of the saison ones, and then of course the clean fermenting ones. I've had a couple of those as well. Excited for citrus and tropical though. I kind of dug how they would just dry the yeast out,
right?
Stick it in a bag and skimming off the crowds in there.
He says he goes, Yeah, I had to dry out the barrel and
Scrape it down.
Scrape it down. And then they used that. That's
Dust
amazing.
it up.
It's
Yeah.
cool. We learned about the different regions and the different families maintain different the Kveik cultures.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Leading to different strain personalities. And it was Ivar's that got
he recently got certified a couple years ago. Yeah.
Very
cool.
cool.
It was a unique strain on
very
his
super
property, which is pretty cool. I'm excited. Lars is going all full tilt on Kveik for in a production brewery, which is pretty cool. I'm excited to see what kind of like how that shortens some of his lead times.
That'd be good. I mean, that's
beer.
important, right?
Like
there.
if he can get it like to the tap in 4 days.
Oh
Shut up. Yeah. On an IPA. That'd be cool. That'd be wicked cool.
That would be very.
That's gonna be a wrap on Kveik. Huge thanks to Øystein, Lars, and Ivar for joining us today and keeping this an incredible brewing tradition alive and thriving.
Yeah, so if you want to try Kveik for yourself, check out a new line of organic multi-strain Kveik from Kveik Yeastery. They will be available soon at Northwest Brewer Supply.
As always, if you've enjoyed the show, give us a follow, leave a review, or share this episode with your brewing buddies.
Yeah, share it out.
Until next time, folks, make your next beer your best beer.
Always the best. Thanks a lot, Ben. This is amazing. It's a great episode.